Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of NHLN Opinion Plus, a weekly series airing every Friday. This is a space for our opinions where we talk about current events and questions the Latino community is curious about. Today, we are joined by Erica Allen, president of PFLAG-New Hampshire. The organization focuses on support, education, and advocacy relating to the local LGBTQ plus community. Welcome, Erica. Thank you for joining us this week.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Belen. It's nice to be here.
I'm very excited. So for more context, could you tell us a bit about the organization's history and mission to start off?
Sure. PFLAG, I'm president of PFLAG-New Hampshire, which obviously is local to the state of New Hampshire. And we have locations in 4 different cities: Concord, Portsmouth, Manchester, Nashua. We're part of a very, very large organization, national organization that started almost 50 years ago. Came out of Pride movement. Actually, it was started by Jean Manford, who was advocating for her son who had been beaten by the police, essentially because he was speaking out because he was gay. And today we are 400 chapters strong across the country, and we provide support, education, advocacy, things like that.
That's great. Wow, how it's grown. So in what ways would you say has the pandemic affected the organizations? And it can be specifically your chapter, your work this year, at least since a year ago, and sort of also with that, how has the organization been able to adapt to the pandemic in order to continue serving the community?
That's a really, really good question. The pandemic had a very big impact on PFLAG and the LGBTQ community in general. With everything being shut down, people lost a lot of the social circles where they could be with others they felt safe with, which is really important in this community. And they lost just access to so many in-person resources. You know, everybody's at home. I've been at home now, working from home for the last year. And our support groups up until COVID were in person. We met in different facilities throughout New Hampshire, where people could come and feel safe, secure, and hear from others who might be dealing with similar challenges with loved ones who were gay or lesbian or trans. But with COVID, they had no place to go. And fortunately, I guess it was probably April. I think we missed about 1 month worth of support groups. And in April, we were able to go online. And so we're actually probably have more people attending our support groups online than we did in person. And I think that's a reflection of how important the niches that we fill. Again, with so few places to go, having a community where people feel safe and where they can share their stories with others and hear from others is huge. So we meet every week, and for a couple hours. And for those who are looking for that kind of support, it's a great, great place to go. For how I got started.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. You're able to, continue that sort of really crucial safe space you were saying. Do you think, maybe post-pandemic, hopefully we're gradually recovering from this, you'd keep having like remote meetings or maybe options?
If I've got anything to say about it, absolutely, because it's funny. Again, since everything is happening kind of online, I've had occasion to touch people. We've had people come from as far as Georgia.
Wow.
To our meetings in New Hampshire. Oh. And it's not uncommon for us to have people from out of state who join our meetings. Don't know what our attraction is, but it doesn't really matter. If people can find support with us, that's a good thing. And because we're online, we can reach parts of New Hampshire that we could not easily reach before, just because, getting around New Hampshire, it's a fairly big state.
Right.
And so if you're coming from the North Country or something like that, it's hard to come all the way down to Concord.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay, yeah, we'll keep that topic of accessibility in mind. That's one of my questions down. But I was wondering if you could give us, sort of in a broad sense, what's the variety of services or resources that people can find on the organization's website. So like what typically do you try to offer?
Well, you mentioned our website, and I'd also mention that we have also a closed Facebook group, PFLAG-New Hampshire, and keep in mind there's a public one. There is a closed one, which people would have to request to join. And I think that's also a good resource because it's a forum of over 800 people in the community who, again, help each other with questions they have. There's an awful lot of good information, resources, medical resources, legal resources, and things like that out there. And of course, we post our meetings there and things like that. Our website is also valuable. They're kind of linked together, if you will. The website will give our history. It gives information on our support groups so that if people are trying to find out how to become part of our support groups or attend them, that's very easy for them to do there. There's a very simple form they can fill out online. And I will say that our support groups are very, very secure. We take multiple measures to make sure that people are safe. We are very sensitive to that. We've always, it's something that's always important to us, whether we meet in person or online.
Right.
So we've never had any trouble with anybody Zoom bombing, if you will, or doxing us or anything like that. And so we have a little bit of our history there. We have different resources that people can go, especially with good literature. There's very, very, very good information out there. And in fact, I know that this is a Latin-based network. We actually also have Spanish language literature out there that's also available for those who might find that useful. And it covers a variety of issues from just supporting people in your family, people in your community of faith, or just how to be an ally. So I would highly recommend looking at that because these resources are available for free.
Beautiful. That was a great explanation of the variety of that. Thank you. The range, really.
Oh, of course.
And so I'm wondering, in your opinion, what's the importance behind community outreach within your work, and sort of how does the organization address intersectionality within the LGBTQ community, as many marginalized communities, it can be diverse within itself?
Wow, that's a big question, and it's spot on. So I was thinking about this the other day, in fact. So intersectionality, as it relates to LGBTQ community, well, I mean, it's fundamental. I mean, people who are part of the LGBTQ community are not defined by culture. They're not defined by age. They're not defined by race, gender, anything like that. We are part of every community. And so the intersectionality of people in the LGBT community with every other community is just inherent. It's built in automatically. And I mean, I do a lot of advocacy myself, mostly public speaking. And one of the things I do in telling, it's a very personal story, is, I think about it, I don't want to just tell a story of somebody who's a trans woman. Why is my story important? My story is important because the themes are universal. Because the differences that define me to the outside world, that make me stand out, if you will, are a set of differences that really I share with almost anybody else in the margins. Again, like I said, it could be color, it could be anything. And so when I talk about the things that are important to my community or me in succeeding in this world, they are the very same things. They boil down to respect, to consideration, to a willingness to listen and try to understand that just because you aren't familiar with something doesn't make it naturally dangerous. It doesn't make it something to fear or ultimately to hate and to hurt.
Right.
And those are universal themes. And so when it comes to intersectionality, to me, it's just a strong, strong intersectionality. If you look at our Facebook page, in fact, you'll see right now that the most prominent display on our banner is our support of Black Lives Matter, because it's really the same story. And in fact, if you look at the trans community, it's trans women of color who are the most subject to violence and hate. So it's everywhere, this intersectionality, if you will.
Right.
It's tough in New Hampshire because we are such a lily white state, but it's there.
It's growing. The Latino population's growing, so it's great that you're having these Spanish materials offered. You mentioned that, and I saw that as well. So that's perfect sense. I'm wondering, moving on a little bit, what are your main goals, sort of, or what priorities for the organization throughout this year and maybe beyond that?
Well, for this year, it's to survive.
Okay.
And I mean that at a human level. We have, the last year has obviously been tough for everybody in every community. And staying alive is a real need. And so that's why, we have the online support groups. Ultimately, if things return to some semblance of normal, I'd like to get our in-person groups back up and running in conjunction with an online group. Another thing that's been affected by COVID has been visibility events. Pride events have been driven to Zoom. And, thank goodness we've had things like Zoom that allow us to continue to spread the message. But people need to socialize and gather and feel the energy of others around them who share their challenges. And so I'm looking forward to the day when we can become much more actively involved in Pride events, for example. And I miss very much my public speaking events. I'm Zoomed out just like so many other people. Doing them online, while again it's useful, it's nothing like it is when it's in person, where you can pull a lot of energy from people, and it's really, really important to feel that energy and for people to get it back from you too. So again, surviving COVID, getting back into person groups, and getting into taking advantage of opportunities to be more publicly visible and show our support and fly our banners so people can remember that they're not alone. That's
great, right? Could you give us an update on the chapter's latest advocacy work? I don't know if you've sort of had time to, throughout pandemic, do sort of that, yeah.
Well, yeah, we've got a few things that are going on. Currently, right now, I'm working to help a trans athlete by the name of Cece Tuffler. She's a track and field athlete located here in New Hampshire. She comes by way of Jamaica and Canada, but she's a resident of the United States, New Hampshire, and she was a student at Franklin Pierce out in Keene. And she has big dreams to go to the Olympics in Tokyo. And because she's a trans woman, of course, it's highly controversial. And so I have been working with her and our national organization to see if we can get her some national sponsorship and support so that she can actually compete. And so that's one little thing. And then I've been working on helping a brother and a sister from Uganda obtain asylum in this country as refugees in the LGBTQ community from their home country. So far, we've scored one. We were able to help the sister get her asylum about a week ago. So I feel very good about that. And now we're just waiting to hear about her brother. Going back, that's related to the CC Tuffler story of athletics is there's locally going on and throughout the country a lot of efforts to see if about making athletics universally accessible to people in the trans community, which it's a very, very controversial subject. And so that is an effort that we are currently working on in New Hampshire, advocating for that at the legislative level. And of course, we're all watching to see how things go with the new administration in the White House, because we've had a few tough years here, and we're still seeing a lot of things happening at the state level at various states that are jeopardizing our access to affirming healthcare, as we've seen in Arkansas just yesterday.
Right. There's a lot. There's a lot related. Very sort of never going to be what is the word? Always. I can't speak right now. but sort of nothing that's going to be less important at any extent. Like these are crucial topics I sort of gotta look at every day.
Yeah, my hope one day is that nobody's going to want to interview me. That the story I have to say is old for the books.
Everyone knows it.
And that I can just carry on as just a normal human being, taking care of my grandchild, doing my job, growing vegetables in my garden, and just having a day-to-day life without having to worry about a lot of what I consider this external noise that just gets in the way of living.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you so much for your time in our conversation. We like zipped through the 15 minutes. So thank you for talking. Yeah, thank you for talking with us, Erica Allen, and for being our guest on NHLN Opinion Plus.
It's been my pleasure, Boleyn. You take care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Everyone, please tune in next week for another episode. Follow us on Twitter at NH Latino News and Instagram at NH_Latino News. I'm Belen Dumont with NHLN Opinion Plus, and I will see you all next time.